Hey guys, it's VideoDrew. This is Live in the Dark with VideoDrew. As always, 9 p.m. as we're supposed to be here, but tonight's show is going to be a little bit different. I hesitate to call it a very special episode because all episodes are special. But this episode in particular is going to be a little deviation from our normal format as we celebrate the life and the work of Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately, all of you probably know, who passed away at 43. So we have very special guest, Jeannine the Machine, on tonight. We're going to be talking about the dark topics, man, the deep topics, the things that affect us greatly. We're going to be talking about death and life and disease and stuff. So there's a little bit of a trigger warning on top. Beep. But I guess if you're watching this show, you probably already know that there's going to be some darkness to it, because without darkness, there is no light. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Don't fact check me. I don't actually know how that works. Sean, let's roll credits. Oh, I was just jamming out to my own vibe. You can tell how great this mind state is because definitely forgot the overlay for my own show. That being said, guys, the Streamlabs are open. Of course, if you want to get your comment noticed or just even noticed faster, go to streamlabs.com/VideoDrew or send in those super chats. We're open, we're live, and we're taking all your money belongs to us. Remember that? Remember Internet 1.0 and when my hair wasn't covering this moving goal? Yeah, perfect. Brand awareness. So yeah, I want to bring on, as always, he calls me his mistress. I'm not sure what the male equivalent of that is. Is it like a crow host? We'll just stick with crow host instead of having me make up anything on the spot. It's Danny, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, mistress. Happy to be here again.
It is lovely to see. It actually is lovely to see you. Not that all the times before when I've said that I've been lying, but it is especially lovely to see you. So cleaned up.
VideoDrew never lies.
Yeah. How was Siberia? Are you back from Antarctica, Siberia?
I was in Siberia, now I'm back to Brazil, and it's still cold, but not as much as I left.
It's not as cold as before. So I guess that Gordon Ramsay thing with the you guys signing up the crow restaurant where people ate crow. You know, you guys were really involved with that. I'm guessing, however, that like humans and the rest of us who all kind of got blindsided by this news.
Yes.
I don't know where you were in the crow restaurant process, but you obviously came back here to Brazil.
Yes.
I don't know why I said here. It's not where I am. But yeah.
Unfortunately, that's where I am right now.
So instead of doing movie news, because honestly, what would be the point? There's only one movie news. Tenet got released some places. There's drive-ins, I guess, of that other movie. But there's really only one piece of news this week. And to discuss it, I want to bring on a friend of the show, a friend of VideoDrew, and my favorite robot, Jeannine the Machine.
Hello.
Hello, Jeannine.
Hello.
Oh, this is not the Crowbot? That's really cute, Danny. I just saw that. That's very cute.
That's a pun on Jeannine the Machine.
I got it. Hey, because Chiron is, I'm seeing now.
I like it.
So, Jeannine, just to get this right off the bat and address this right away, don't want to make it weird or make it uncomfortable for you, but I know you had a very special relationship to Black Panther in this story, in this person. And being somebody who's made of vibranium, besides that, what was your connection to this story?
Just as a little kid, I grew up in areas with mostly white people. So I, fell in love with movies, and it was always important for me to find representation in movies. So I always found myself looking for characters who looked like me in movies that I loved. Um, so when Black Panther was coming out, this was going to be the first mainstream Black superhero movie. And that was a huge deal for me that, yes, there's been other films with all Black casts and Black writers and Black directors and all of that. But this was on a mainstream level. This movie was going to be a movie for everybody. And
Yeah.
that was huge for me. So, it was the day before my first ever Schmoedown match. And I had a lot of anxiety and fears going into the Schmoedown because, it's a mostly male,
Wonder
right?
why.
Yeah, right? It's
Totally
the fan
Yeah.
base is totally, mostly white male. The competitors were mostly white male.
White Male Rage. White Male Rage is my favorite SNL song.
And I was also coming in as a heel. So I had concerns about, was I going to be this, angry Black lady stereotype? Was I going to be embraced by this fan base? Was I going to be even maybe like a token? How was this going to play out? And I had a lot of fears about that. Was I going to be accepted? So the day before my first match, and even leading up to Black Panther, I was completely inspired in my art. I made so many Black Panther designs. I was so excited about it. And my family went to my tea shop and bought all of my Black Panther designs. They bought a shirt for everybody. We all wore my Black Panther designs, and we went to go to this movie the day it came out. And that was super special because we never do things like that. We never.
You said it was the night before. Did you say it was the night before your first Schmoedown match? This movie came out.
Yes.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
That's some meta aerodynamic miracle kind of workings too. That's crazy.
And yes, Ryan. Yes, there's Blank Man. There is Meteor Man, but those were not mainstream, huge superhero movies.
So what was it like after you what was the experience like seeing the movie in theaters? Because I can tell you real quick what my experience was like. I got really sick to my stomach, had a fight with my boyfriend, didn't watch more than 10 minutes, and then had such a trigger warning aversion to the whole experience that I just never saw Black Panther. So I had never actually seen Chadwick Boseman in a starring role until yesterday.
Wow.
So yeah.
Well, how did you feel about it? Now that you've finally seen it.
It's incredible.
Great question.
Obviously it's incredible. And I was just watching 42 today, and that's incredible. And I if you were asking me, I shy away from anything that's not anything in general. Most of my life I've shied away from anything outside of a certain genre. Most people are have genres they avoid. I have only certain genres I like. So I'll watch anything that's horror. I'll watch a lot of comedies. I'll watch a lot of musicals. But anything that's drama or biopic or about, I never saw Schindler's List. I don't watch a lot of pain and suffering kind of things. So I, by the very nature of certain kinds of movies have just always slipped by my radar. I hadn't seen any of the Marvel movies really either until Ragnarok. And then I've kind of intermittently gone back because I can't watch John Wick movies. I can't watch movies with car accidents. There's a lot of movies that
stay away from.
I have to stay away from them, or I'm trying to learn how to get involved with. So I thought it was gorgeous and beautiful, and also it was weirdly about something, which was strange for a Marvel movie. I was I had so many thoughts. Lon was there.
Yes. And I appreciate Lon. People are kind of throwing other Black superheroes in there, and I'm not saying that there has never been any other Black superhero, but this was a Black director, Black writers, all Black cast.
Mm-hmm.
It was a movement.
Yes, and it was a mainstream part of the MCU, which is the hugest thing,
Yeah.
And it was not just geared towards Black people; it was geared for everybody, So I think that's what made it really special. So I saw this movie with my family, and I was just in awe. I was just, after coming out of it, I was so just proud to be me, to see people who look like me doing amazing things, to see Okoye and Shuri and Nakia kicking ass and being amazing, and seeing T'Challa being this pride of his whole continent of Wakanda. It was it was just amazing to see Black people being important and powerful and portrayed in such an amazing light. So after coming out of that movie, like pretty much all of my fears and anxieties that I had about, what I was going to mean to the Schmoedown kind of changed. I wasn't afraid of if I was really going to be accepted. I was more feeling pride about what I was going to be representing. So, I showed up for the Schmoedown. I was wearing one of my Black Panther designs for my first match. I saw Devin, Stewart, and Winston. That was their first matches as well. That same day. So I was, Jay was my manager. So it was like I was already seeing this kind of big burst of diversity just on my first Schmoedown match and just having seen Black Panther. So, my brothers came with me and they were there watching the movie with me the day before. So I was just in such a positive, proud headspace after seeing that movie, just because of Chadwick's amazing performance and just seeing, Black people just so proud to be who they were and to see people who look like me just being so excellent. So
right. And what something that really did strike me about Black Panther, like as a movie, is like when I say it's about something, I mean like it's not just sort of like should there be a Sokovian Accord like thing, the kind of stuff to get into. It's like really about like if we are a better, more advanced society, like it really does tackle some things where you're
do we have a responsibility to help others? Yeah.
And the idea of like weapons versus tools and like how much, do we want people to know about our existence because of our, history and past, but as like sort of the superior, they're like the superior, continent of people, or like the superior country of people like than us. And they don't necessarily want to share their resources with people who have been killing and murdering. And I thought that was such a good interplay to have the whole movie just be about that instead of about the superhero side of it necessarily. It wasn't about all the things that his suits could do or like all the power. I mean, to the extent that it was about the flower and stuff, like I thought that was beautiful.
And even him trying to figure out like how to rule, like how his father did and like what's important to him as a king, and the whole kind of, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King dynamic of having the same end game, the same goal, the same want, but going about it in very different ways.
Sorry, I just put the same picture. I was gonna put up because you've actually done cosplay as Shuri, right?
Mm-hmm. So when I played Emma Fife, I came out of Shuri, and this was the day me and my family, right the day before my Schmoedown match, we went to go see it as a family. So,
see, I remember kind of getting those feels a little bit towards Captain Marvel, but like not really, not super a lot. Like I mean, I did. I actually really loved the soundtrack to Captain Marvel, and I loved the whole thing. But it wasn't like this is the movie that defines me or defines me in the MCU or like it wasn't like that. Watching this movie, I'm like, oh, this is definitely by far and away the best MCU movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Like it just is. His performance is incredible. And I guess the thing that I want to get into kind of like immediately though is that he knew the entire time that for most of the time he was filming this entire time, like he knew that he had cancer.
He was diagnosed the year Civil War came out, his first appearance. So to think that he took all of that on since Civil War, it's crazy.
Like, not that, but like nobody knew. Like if you read Ryan Coogler's statements, he didn't know that he was sick ever. Like he was writing Black Panther too.
Yeah,
that's so crazy. Like he kept that very, very personal and very close, and I understand why. But it must have been so strange to have that interplay between becoming a very famous person and having that like inextricably like tied to this sense of like
mortality.
It must be hard to make a secret because now people's lives are so shareable. People know about everything
about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he was able to be private with that stuff, it's like it caught out all of us by surprise. That's the hard facts.
And I've had people I've talked to people who have gone through chemo and they were telling me like it's painful. So for him to have to like work out and be in shape, and like Ryan Coogler saying he did most of his stunts and things like that, like he was probably in so much pain, and you know, for him to just be positive and be a positive force on everyone else and, you know, fight through those things because he knew how important this was and important all his roles were into representing Black people.
Yeah.
And he just fought through that you know.
The most beautiful thing I've seen, or like, there's so much beautiful stuff about Chadwick Boseman. I mean, I had this immediate gut punch reaction, as I think we all did. But again, like, not having seen that many of his films, I don't know why this one felt so intense. But it did feel like this weird, beautiful, horrible fate of like somebody who is private, who has to be the representation of who has to stand for a lot of things to a lot of people. Yeah. And thus has to like hide this very, intense thing going on with him that most actors wouldn't have to hide.
Yeah,
about themselves. The transformation with his body, that he had done a lot of weight gain and loss between, I believe, the Thurgood Marshall films and doing Black Panther. He gained and dropped, and an interviewer had asked, like, "Oh, was it like, what was it like, dropping and gaining all that weight?" Like he was like, like he was one of the like Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth or something, and he was like, "Oh yeah."
Christian Bale did a lot of.
He was like, it was hell, and like, like one day I'll live to tell you about it. Like, he made this very like oblique reference. But I can't. The only thing I can imagine is that like the physical stuff must have been like a distraction that you could use, like
just to fight through. Yeah,
pain you can fight, I guess.
Yeah. And I think I can get why it would hit you so hard, especially not like maybe seeing a lot of his work, because you already just like know in the back of your mind that like he had it this whole time doing all these things, and just that being a testament to the kind of person he was. So I think that probably adds to a lot of people's like shock and grief, because it felt like out of nowhere.
Well, and I was talking to you a little bit about this yesterday, not to bring this all back to VideoDrew, guys, because again, this is also a movie I just saw very recently. But the thing that I can't stop thinking about in relationship to Chadwick Boseman's life and career as we know it is the movie Arrival, and specifically, let's see.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Arrival. I don't think this is even spoiler, except to say that there is aliens, and so this image, I don't want to spoil Arrival for anyone, but Abbott is death process, and what that means to a society, a creature that who doesn't understand time as linear, who understands every moment as happening simultaneously. So something is living and something is dying simultaneously. There is no beginning and end. I just keep thinking of that phrase like the entire time, like, and especially as it relates to certain characters in the movie, what it means to know that something's going to end and to still choose to do it anyway.
Yeah.
It makes it so
Dr. Manhattan.
Very much like Dr. Manhattan was the other person that came to mind. Like, honestly, I love this image so much. I'm like thinking about getting a tattoo of it. Not that anyone needs to hear my basic ass bitch like tattoo ideas today. But, I just love that. I mean, I think it's beautiful in a way. Like, he made 7 movies or 5 movies, 7, right? Well, I believe like 7 movies, and during this time span, and the entire time he knew that he
was having this battle. Like, it's crazy.
Having this battle. It doesn't seem like he ever went into remission. Like he went into surgeries. He just kept
probably doing chemo. I mean, I saw like a lot of images of him looking really thin and some like just really mean memes and things, and I had those thoughts, like, is he sick? And like, I tried to read up about it, and it was like a lot of stuff coming from his camp when they were asked about this, them not really addressing it, not confirming anything. So in the back of my head, I just wanted to think, oh, well, maybe he's just doing it for a role. Maybe he's just losing weight for a movie or something. And, but the way he looked, I know how that looks, because my stepdad, he had a heart disease that like was not pumping blood to the rest of his body. And it was nothing they could do about it because he was very advanced in age. He was already like pushing 80. So there was no point in doing a surgery. So he was on hospice, and I cared for him the last few months of his life. So I saw him go from, you know, how he always looked to getting very emaciated and thin, and really weak. And the way he looked was how Chadwick was looking to me. So I had those kinds of thoughts, but I, you know, since nobody was confirming anything, I just kind of was like, maybe it's just for a movie. Maybe that's why he's losing weight. You know,
how crazy is it? Like, how crazy is it that when you're comparing it to, as opposed to like him looking healthy, that was also him in death process. Like that was also him with cancer. Like the only thing we have to reference him to is somebody who has advanced colon cancer. Like him being buff, him being skinny, him gaining weight, him losing weight. It's all he knew the whole time.
Yeah. So yeah, I like just wanted to believe it was something else when I saw those pictures of him, and like we weren't getting any kind of real confirmation, but just seeing those pictures of him, it looked exactly like my stepdad's kind of transformation to near the end of his life when, you know, he was on hospice and, you know, he had lost a lot of weight and he couldn't keep any food down, and, you know,
that kind of like that dragged out look. I mean, it is. I don't know what's a testament to. I would say it's a testament to Marvel's producer system. I mean, somebody at some higher up level had to know, because you have to be insured to be on set. They make you go to the doctors. Like somebody knew, and they worked really hard, and the whole Marvel system worked really hard to, like, you know, make sure that was never the story.
Yeah.
And I think one unintended effect of that, or we'll never really know, because again, it's inextricably linked to like his fame and success and stuff, is that he was always sort of deflecting stuff. He was always like deflecting the personal onto being like, well, no, look at these amazing like cancer kids, or like, you know, like, look at my amazing co-stars. Like watching him getting choked up talking about these two boys
that were holding out. They were holding on just to see the movie.
Yeah, and like watching him get choked up about it. And the boy's father spoke today and was like, yeah, I mean, he was really devastated by this, and that, gosh, weird moment. Thank you. Thank you.
That's the Jeannine's sister, the video bot.
Oh, thank you, Vernon, for donating that. I forgot to turn off the little noise thing. But yeah, that like you know, even watching him in 42 today, I was like questioning some of the other choices in 42. We were talking a little bit. I don't know what Harrison Ford was doing. What is Harrison Ford doing in 42, do you think? What do you think Harrison Ford's choices were in that film? Because I think they're Wilford Brimley, like, almost.
I mean, was that how that real guy like talked? Like, I don't
know. Is he good at impersonations? Like, is that what we know Harrison Ford for doing? Like, it was weird. He was great in it. There's this little moment early on in the film where he's talking about a police officer coming onto the field and saying, "Get off the field. You can't play here because you're a black person." And this is again one of these movies that I wouldn't watch for two reasons: one, because it's a biopic; two, because it's a sports movie; three, because it seems to be about drama and some sort of you know, tension there.
Yeah,
you know?
and even movies with racial tension are like so frustrating to watch because it's just so much ignorance happening right in front of your eyes, and it's like, you know.
I was watching something the other day. I can't remember what it was. Maybe Lon will help my memory, but or Eric or somebody watching something, and somebody was talking. Oh, it was Black Dolomite, where somebody's talking about like always getting to play the racist. Like, oh, I always get cast as the racist. Like,
yeah.
Dolomite is my name. I'm so sorry. Dolomite is my name. Which was amazing. But I thought that like beat was really funny because in those movies there's always going to be those people who have to play the racists as well, and like that.
Yeah.
That must be a weird thing.
Is that really the typecasting that you want? Like, you're the guy they call when they need a racist?
I've noticed who it is too. It's this one dude who was on Breaking Bad he was on Breaking Bad as a neo-Nazi, and he's on Umbrella Academy, and he was in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and he's always just playing this stringy, greased out racist.
Yeah, it's Sam Rockwell too. Sam Rockwell has played quite a few racists.
He's racist in his day. Like, I feel like it's a certain look, and yikes to that. And I guess congratulate, or like, good job. Not thank you for your service, clearly, but like, maybe a little. I don't know. Not touching it. But Chadwick Boseman's doing this little thing about. He's like, well, what she said, and it was the woman. I recognized her immediately. I was like, it's the Sleepy Hollow woman. plays his wife, and she's great. She was on that great Black Mirror episode, I think, unless I'm totally incorrect. Who plays his wife in 42. She was in that Striking Viper's X episode of... Yeah. It's that. So
I think it's you're thinking of the right person, yeah.
Awesome. Because, like, yeah, I love Sleepy Hollow. He's like, well, she's like, what did you say? And he's like, well, I just said, and he's like, sure enough, like, I'm going to get, like, right off there. And he does this little, like, shoulder waggle thing where he's, like, doing this, like, little, like pantomime, you know?
Yeah.
And she's just cracking up. And it was just this very realistic moment, which, again, I haven't watched that many of his films, but struck me as a very, like, authentic moment. Like a really... He chose stories well. He chose his projects very well.
Yeah.
He chose important projects to spotlight. You know,
figures that were important, figures that contributed amazing things to this world. Yeah, definitely.
I wonder, like, because I've been reading up now, of course, since he's passed, finding out that he like majored in Egyptian hieroglyphics, or that like no, somebody on Twitter was like, oh, I just realized Chadwick Boseman was that kid in my Egyptian hieroglyphics class in like Howard University, and like,
I mean, is that why he did Gods of Egypt?
Or that like that's why it was so important for him to have a to have an African accent in Black Panther, you know, because he didn't want to sound colonized,
westernized, yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool. He was also he didn't like want to be an actor. Like he was like Lin-Manuel Miranda. He was like a writer director of hip opera, and like had done a bunch of like theater stuff. And then
he wanted to be like a director, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that must be such a weird beat because all actors want to direct, and not that many directors accidentally fall into being the first Black international superhero.
Yeah.
At the same time, they also find out that they are in death process. Like it's
incredible. Like that he did all of the things he was able to do, knowing all of this and fighting through all of this. I think that just makes it such a testament to like who he was as a person. That he knew that it was important to give these things to people. So
yeah, I mean, did you know like the Denzel thing? Like I hadn't heard. I mean, of course, because like why would I have heard like a bunch of Chadwick Boseman facts before Friday? But like the Denzel thing that like Denzel Washington apparently had donated a big check to like 12, I think, Howard students who were going on to study at Oxford University for acting. And Chadwick Boseman was giving this speech at IFC for Denzel Washington, and he was just like, oh, so just so you know, I was one of those 12 people.
That's
like he
crazy.
He had like spent time in Hollywood bumping into Denzel and was never like, thank you. He was just holding it like in this very way that I'm realizing is like his style. Like he was just holding that in his back pocket.
To share that. Yeah. Dude, Angela Bassett said something similar too.
Yes. Yeah. The Angela Bassett one. Like,
yeah.
She was his, he walked her like around the school when she was like visiting. And he was like,
yeah, she was there to get like an honorary like degree or something, and he was the student that escorted her to the stage, and he didn't tell her that until Black Panther, and he like whispered it into her ear.
Wait, so Black Panther to premiere. Let's be clear, they already played like mother and son, and she told him at the premiere.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of like a straight up low-key serial killer move, but that I love. Like, that's like holding on to something and like being like, yeah, I'm just gonna play this exactly right. Yeah. I VideoDrew as me. I can never do that. I'm guileless. I have no ability to hold on to information unless I.
You'll be telling everybody.
Yeah, I don't have a bunch of like cool facts that are just about my relationship to you that I haven't revealed yet on the air. Except that I one time spent 50 minutes at a Target frantically looking for what robots would eat instead of like studying movie trivia.
Looking for WD-40.
And those new headphones. Those were brand new, like USB cords and stuff.
And you still beat me, so there you go.
Was it me?
Question mark.
You know what's funny is today I was going back and rewatching that match in particular, and rewatching it. I didn't realize it had come out on Thanksgiving. But
you had like Halloween and stuff.
I had all this Halloween stuff, and also I was reading the live chat, and like you can watch people be like, yeah, like won't even whatever, and then being like, oh, Tom's kind of a monster, and then I get that one. You get that great dig in, like before anyone laughs at anything I say. You get that like exterminate.
Exterminate.
And it's like it lands perfectly. I just like don't manage to answer like any significant questions. And round 2, I'm just giving. I think I like rewatching it. I'm like watching my faces. I know some of the answers, but Tom's already whispering in my ear, and I'm like, oh, but I technically knew that. Technically, I knew who played the director in Cabin in the Woods. I knew that.
Yeah.
And then you watch like the cat line happen, and that goes over.
Killed everybody.
To this day, I have no idea why that line was funny. I guess that's what comedy is sometimes. I was just being like, come on, guys. Jay Maguire, we all know how many.
But typically, people questioning the, point value of questions is already like a thing that the writers hate. That can be really frustrating. But when you did it that way, like, that was perfect. Because that was a case where it was kind of true. And nobody could fault you or be mad that you were like saying that was an easy question.
Also, like, let me be clear. I also said that about my own 2-pointer, which was who co-starred alongside Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman, yeah.
So it's not
I think we lost that match because Ethan doesn't know anything about animated movies.
Although, like, Felix the Cat, except for Felix the Cat, which is the craziest pull I've ever seen in my life.
Because had he got the 3 about Treasure Planet, we would have won.
Did you know Joe? He asked you during the match. He goes, "Do you know who it is?" And you go,
"Yes."
Like, and then he looks over at you again, and they're like, "You can't actually confirm." Like he watched you, like, yeah.
Yep. I was like, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I didn't know. Let me tell you something else. Juan didn't know. He asked, or Michael J. Fox. So that's Atlantis. That's the Atlantis movie where he's got these nice little pearl muscles.
Yeah, some little glasses. Yeah.
So I mean, getting back to it, a real ass fear of VideoDrew's and mine is that I will get asked a question that's going to be about pronunciation of an actor's name, or I've had stress-related dreams specifically, like concurred to Black Panther actors and character names and stuff like that, and I know that it's something that. Makes me efficient as a player.
Well, apparently, if they know what you mean, you'll get it right. So
I mean, maybe. I mean, if they can't pronounce it themselves, but
you saw the whole hesh thing, and there was the Alba thing, and the final argument for that was, well, we knew what they were trying to say. We knew they knew it. We knew what they meant. So it's correct.
Not to get like too off topic here, but guys, it's my stream. But like, Guy was completely right. The Schwartzman character in Big Eyes was not an art critic. He owned a gallery. The character's name, they named the gallery owner, and they were thinking of Jason Schwartzman. And that was it's an easy thing to mess up because like it's like there's like 4 art critics in that movie. But he was right to challenge it, and it's like weird that they didn't give it to him. But
so he got it. Well, he got it. But yeah, had he not gotten it, I think he could have challenged that.
He tried to, and they just were like, no.
And so they were like, well, is that going to use a challenge? He's like, never mind. And he just guessed one of the multiple choice.
And then that was the end of the match. Yeah. Anyway, the point being that I think it's all, it lays on some competitors' fears that like we will get a slice one day that will be the Tyler Perry slice, or is going to be, I
am a huge proponent for repretation and more black films and black actors being highlighted, but I hate Tyler Perry movies. So,
I don't know who likes it.
It was PJ Campbell.
Okay, I thought it was Bateman. No, so PJ. Okay, so we know that. I like the Spike Lee stuff. Is great. The Ice Cube stuff. I'm just always so afraid of looking bad for things that, to be fair, if they were white people drama or white people movies, I would also not have seen.
Well, like I saw somebody mixed up. They asked about Selma, and they answered The Butler because it was another like black movie. Yeah. So I'm just like,
there's been hours that
people really study these movies, and I think they should be part of your studying.
And they absolutely have been. And look, there's been hours of Eliza Doolittle, My Fair Lady pronunciation elocution classes with NerdChronic about being like Chiwetel Ejiofor, like, you know, like
David
like,
Oyelowo.
David Oyelowo, you know, like and how you spell them, and like, you know, and then me being like, well, it's close enough. No, it's not close enough. Like it's not close enough until you get it. Even if they mispronounce it, it's not close enough. And Eric NerdChronic's got a whiplash sort of intensity when it comes to learning stuff. So no, it definitely had to be like a thing. And I've had to watch movies. I mean, the whole Schmoedown experience, I've had to watch movies that are outside my purview or interest view necessarily. But the ones that have surprised me the most that I've like turned out to love have been stories like 42, like The Last Black Man in San Francisco, like Black Panther, where I'm like, oh, I denied myself a whole fucking thing because I assumed that, like, the Jewish people, all your movies were going to be just and then they came and killed us all. So, you know, then they came and we all died.
Great ending.
Like, let's get together. Yeah, it's the thing. This show of this movie American Pickle that's on HBO Max with Seth Rogen playing himself and also playing a shtetl Jew and who gets brined for 100 years and meets his own grandson. He has this whole thing that's very Jewish. That's like, you know, now we will go to the graveyard and now we will bond over our shared grief of saying the mourner's kiddush for like 17 minutes. Yeah. And that's like a very Jewish experience.
Lon, I do forgive you, Lon.
Oh yeah, for one of those painful misses.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I know that like.
Sounds right.
But I mean, Jews and Menace to Society do sound similar in plot, whereas The Butler and Selma, like, they're literally telling you this movie is about Martin Luther King, and like
for the Menace question, it was literally that like you had to know the names of the characters, right? It was dog something, right? Because that was the question. Was like, do you know the names of the character in the year? Which sounds really hard. Hold on a second. So yeah, I mean. I think I don't know. Like I was reading. My Tom had this tweet.
The original Tom.
The original Tom had this tweet where it's like, I can't imagine doing all that Chadwick Boseman did with his career and life while knowing that I had cancer. And my response was, yeah, but like, I don't know if I could have done with my life what Chadwick Boseman did with his life, full stop. And I
without having cancer.
You know. If again, the beauty of it is in the sadness, and the beauty of it is a little bit that it did combine. It was one thing that he wanted to get as much work out as he could.
Yeah.
He didn't direct movies. He didn't pick like passion projects or like do like he spent his time very specifically and very like targeted on the projects he was involved with. And I don't know, like being in where we are right now as a world, it feels like nobody is immune from having a death,
affect them, impact them. Yeah.
That everyone knows someone who is going through death process, like currently, whether they know it or not, like the whole thing. And that this is someone who did something different, which is like not, they knew for years, and they knew throughout the entire most prolific, throughout their entire prolific years, the years that we know them as being the handsome, sexy superhero, first Black superhero. Like, they knew the time.
For Ryan Coogler to be so close with him and to come to that realization, like he had cancer the whole time I knew him, and I just didn't know, like, the way he worked, the effort he put in, the way he uplifted everyone around him, and like to see how much he even contributed to Black Panther outside of just being the actor, him being with Coogler in auditions. And
that was crazy. Like
giving his input. Yeah, and then he talked about, there was the decision that they were going to, with Killmonger on his death, they were going to bury him in Wakanda. And he made the decision, no, I think he should be buried somewhere else. I think he should make the decision to, want to die on his own terms.
Like the best line in the film. It's like clearly the strongest line in the film. The strongest line in the film in a recent film given to a villain. Let me put it that way. That like most sympathetic, most beautiful line like you could possibly give to the villain. Look, we're not saying that Jeannine is here to represent Age of Ultron or Black Panther. She equally inhabits
or Skynet
or the anything. But we do.
Hell,
We actually
9,000.
we do want to bring somebody else onto the show. We do have someone else who I'm sure has some hot, spicy takes, like AKA like I don't know, Chadwick Boseman should not have died. Just hot takes like that. We have on our producer Triple B. It's Sean, producer man. He's got to put himself on the camera. Yeah, there we go. Hi, Sean.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Producer, man.
Dawn to me. Why are you saying evening?
Yeah.
Well, see, Danny, normally I'd be here to bother you, but I'm going to take a break from that, considering the circumstances tonight.
Wait, weren't you fired last week or something?
Danny, I think what Sean is saying is let bygones be bygones for this detente.
We're calling it a truce. And to answer your question, Danny, I could never be fired. But you can't say the same.
Yes. This is sort of like in
feeling the tension here.
You have no idea, said Scar, but also doing an allusion to Reversal of Fortune, Jeremy Irons. That's
a deep cut.
That's a deep cut, but I read a Scar's Wikipedia page one day, and I just know all the Scar things. Nothing about Chadwick Boseman as of Friday, but all of the Scar things. In fact, that Chadwick Boseman did not play him in the remake. Scar was great. Didn't give him the song though. They didn't give Chuta the song, which was sort of a bummer. But yeah, right. It's like, why not? That's the best. Anyway, moving on. Hey. I think what he's saying is, Sean and Danny have this sort of tumultuous relationship, but it's going to be like the World War I French, German Christmas dinner where they all came out of their separate little, what do they call them, barrels? No, bunker? No. Like the little trenches. Yeah, they all had Christmas dinner together, which seems again like something very dark, considering you're going to be like shooting at these people again tomorrow. But like one night,
it's a ceasefire. I've called a ceasefire just for
more than a ceasefire.
Evening.
It's a Christmas dinner celebration of death process, I guess.
So basically every Christmas.
Yeah, basically. I don't really know what happens for Christmas, but yeah. Kevin,
call it what you wager.
But Sean, I mean, look, just like everyone, it's 2020, and the slogan of the show is
you like it or you don't.
Not, it's happening. Slogan for the show, but also 2020. However, some of us have been hit more than others. Some of us, and what are your feelings about this particular thing? Where were you watching the match when it happened?
I was watching the match, but as a producer does, I was kind of multitasking with some other things, booking guests, trying to find a hitman to get rid of Danny, all kinds of other things. Or an exterminator. I'm not kind of sure who I should contact, an exterminator or a hitman.
Probably a bat.
Maybe an exterminator hitman. Maybe.
You got a little light that can do a Batman thing? Crows hate bats, Jeannine, just real quick to catch you up. He's crow. They hate bats.
Okay.
Batman's
a nemesis.
There was a war. Long story.
No one cares, Danny. No one cares. And we don't want to bore Jeannine with all that.
The ceasefire is going so well.
Yeah.
Well, trust me, otherwise there'd be somebody knocking on Danny's door.
I don't have a door.
Anyways, so yeah, I was multitasking, and then unfortunately, I saw in the chat that had happened, but I really wasn't paying too much attention to it. It's not till you start looking at your phone, and you start realizing that this is a real thing, and then it's it's just really, really unfortunate. And I think maybe it's because you guys said it earlier. It's because we didn't know he was sick, so it just becomes this sudden shock that he's no longer around, because you just, as humans, we just assume everybody's just going to live a long time. They're going to die as an old age. And we already knew he was going to be in Black Panther 2. And there was a lot of things that were, talked about what that movie's going to entail. And it was just looking forward to seeing it and knowing he was just going to be around to be in it. So just to know that now he's just gone, it's a real it's a tough blow, because like Jeannine said earlier, this was the first major mainstream black superhero movie that not only black people were going to go see, and then it was something that everybody was going to go see and enjoy. It was the #1 movie of that year, and Infinity War came out that year. That tells you something about how popular
is that true? That came out the same year. That's right.
Apart.
Yes, months apart.
Yeah.
But Black Panther made more money in the United States than Infinity War did, which is it tells you how.
Yeah, it hit $1 billion.
It tells, it did. It tells you how important that movie was, and how much of an impact it had in this country, that it made more money than Infinity War, which is crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I just think that when I went to go see it, just the realization that Ryan Coogler was speaking to a wide audience, of course, but he was also speaking to the black community. And there was certain things that he put in that movie that he we would relate to specifically. Yeah. Like one of the first things that happened in the first 5 minutes of the movie, when they're in Oakland and the kids are playing basketball, and that hoop is a milk carton cut out. It's like, that was me in Brooklyn playing basketball. We didn't have a round hoop, couldn't afford it, so we used the milk carton, cut out the bottom, and that's our hoop, which made it a lot harder to shoot basketball because you're shooting a round ball into a square hoop. But that was the thing we had to do, and that was one of the things that it's such a small little thing that most people wouldn't even recognize or even pay attention to. But once I saw that, I was like, I'm watching a Marvel movie that's speaking directly to me.
Mm-hmm. It would be like if they had a super Jewish superhero.
Yes.
Wait.
Or a really crazy
one. Crow superhero?
There's
absolutely not.
There's the Crow, Danny, and he's got your shtick already, so it's good.
And you got it. Nobody liked that movie anyway. But just the idea of things like the auntie thing, there's just so many little things.
So the hey auntie is so good.
Hey auntie, it's that's. I mean, he's speaking directly to us when he did those things. So it's really important that you have a black writer, you have a black director that's embracing all these little things, and then just to see the country, even if it was for a couple of months, just embrace the African culture, and then to see people walking down the street going like this, and white people asking, "Is it okay for me to say Wakanda forever?" And all that kind of stuff.
Is it okay? Sorry. Is it okay? Just because I just said it under my breath. I think Wakanda forever.
Of course, it's okay.
You can say it. You can do this too. You can do the.
I didn't know what to do at first. I was like 3 times, and I was like, no, that's something else. It's one time. It's just Wakanda forever, right? I don't know how to do handshakes either, so.
You don't have to. You just won't.
Yeah, very difficult.
I'll never have to again, so that's fine. About the handshakes.
Well, especially in 2020, we shouldn't be shaking anybody's hands. So we should kind of bring the Wakanda signal back.
Forever back, yeah.
Right? That's actually a good idea. I don't want to be appropriative, but maybe we just this is the thing now. We do. Beautiful. I want to say though, he didn't tell Coogler. I want to keep saying Kubler-Ross, but that's the Stages of Grief, which is weirdly just also relevant. The Stages of Grief you go to is the Kubler-Ross system, the Kubler-Ross model. It's interesting that he didn't know. He was in the middle of writing the Black Panther script, the Black Panther 2 script. I mean, clearly he thought he was going to be around to star in this movie. This was not he had a knowledge of the date he was going to pass, and a knowledge that COVID was going to happen, knowledge that this Black Lives Matter movement was going to happen during COVID, that all this stuff would be boiling, the Trumps, but it just seems like it's like him and Kobe. It's it just seems like deaths that are so
hard hitting and poignant and to everything else that's going on right now. Yeah.
It's those 2 deaths grind everything else to a halt when we're surrounded by death. We're constantly hearing about these death rate numbers, and celebrities are dying. It's not like celebrities aren't dying.
Yeah, but even what was her name? I can't remember her name. John Travolta's wife. She had cancer as well, and nobody ever knew, and she just passed away, kind of. And Kelly Preston, and like nobody knew about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
the Scientologists deal with
2020
stuff
is taking a lot of
differently.
people.
But,
It's taking a lot of people.
Like, I mean, yeah, look, cancer's a rough one. I feel like I know so many people who are around my age who have had husbands and wives and children like pass in the past couple months of specifically cancer and not COVID, and it's so. I think that is also brutal and devastating and hard because you're like, maybe they could have gotten different treatment. Maybe if this wasn't this whole thing and everyone's someone's it's so shitty. And I think we can just acknowledge that and like be aware of it and not have to pretend like it's not.
Yeah.
It's especially shitty to lose someone like Chadwick Boseman right now in 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think also because his filmography is not the longest, and I think he only really came into predominance with 42, and obviously with the Black Panther movies, and it's one of the things where he's going to be stamped as Black Panther forever. There may be somebody who plays Black Panther 10, 15, 20 years from now, but I think like Christopher Reed, he's going to, just like how when you think of Superman, he's one of the first images that come to your mind, whether you grew up as him being Superman or not, he's Superman. And I think going forward, when someone says Black Panther, you're going to think of Chadwick Boseman, regardless if he's the last or the only person play Black Panther, he will be remembered as Black Panther forever now.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it's beautiful that they have this idea of the ancestral plane and they have this way in the movie that they communicate very specifically, like a different way you communicate with the dead. The fact that I think that would have made more sense for it to be related to the Soul Stone and that the Soul Stone should have, had a function and maybe been the Wakanda driving horse. That's the side point that I think could have been handled better in the script, but it wasn't. I think that it's so like to watch that scene, that first scene where he's going into the ancestral plane. And then that second scene, which hit even harder because he's screaming at his dead father and the elders, and he was saying, "You were wrong. Like you were wrong to have killed
to close out the rest of the world and not help our brothers and sisters when we had the means to,
And also such a weird beat for like I never see this in a story where the king, the active king, kills his brother who is not king. It's always the other way around. It's always the would-be king who's the brother kills the king, and then you have Hamlet or the Lion King. You never really got like the guy.
He didn't purposely try to kill him. It was an accident.
It was an accident.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
it won't be with you, Danny. Anyways.
Wow, guys. Anyway, Danny is we're all death process right now. We're all processing death, but we are also.
I'm sorry. We have a truce. I'm sorry. We have a truce.
Yeah, that's okay. I did want to talk a little bit about So again, I'm a bad person. I'll take this on myself. I've not seen the Thurgood Marshall film, but now I kind of really want to because he is like this very compelling figure. You can't take your eyes off him on the screen. Now that I've seen him in one movie, I don't know how I would have ever gotten him confused with Chiwetel Ejiofor or David Oyelowo. I don't know that they're completely different looking people. That I just had this panic anxiety having not watched enough of their films. That I would one day mispronounce or get confused. But I mean, he's such a
captivating performer.
There's literally only one other person I've actually met in real life that's been like this, and I know that Eric is rolling his eyes because he knows the Get Out sort of theme this is going to sound like. But it's when I met Obama. He's the only person in real life who seemed to have it was almost like he had a nuclear blast sort of effect where it's you got into his 5 feet parameter of him and you felt something physical wash over you, and it was that was how charismatic and how crazy it felt to be in his presence. He just had this almost different humanity
Legal.
presence.
Yeah, he exuded this kind of energy.
That just sort of radiated. It was it wasn't like a glow. It was straight up Dr. Manhattan. It seemed otherworldly. It seemed like reality sort of warped itself. Because I'm not somebody who gets
that's Last Dragon, but that's another story.
Not only did I meet Pete West, I not only met Obama once, I met him a second time. and I would have met him a third. That's my guess.
But I kind of agree with you, Drew, in the sense that he did have like this regal kind of like aura about him, and it kind of shows itself in all of the movies that I've seen him in, regardless if that's his character or not. So I just feel that. So I'd be interested to hear what you think about like watching Good Will Marshall and like 21 Bridges, which was kind of that's the last movie I saw him in. I haven't seen the last Spike Lee movie he was just in.
The Five Heads. Yeah, I watched that today. Yeah.
It's on my to-do list.
I'm just so happy that I like that in retroactively there was nothing that that I've never gotten a Chadwick Boseman question wrong, because that was just be terrible. But I will say that I bring up the Obama point only because there are some people I think out there who I don't know if they are more in touch with a certain side, or they are more like they have an ability that we don't have. Like, quite honestly, the ability to change your body like that, to go through that and to not tell a soul, like not your director, not like anybody, and to not tell the kids in the cancer ward that you are going through the same things that they are going through, like totally hide it from the world and have an alter ego, is the most superhero shit I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah, like, and to give of yourself so freely and so unselfishly like that is just incredible.
And to be like, no one should feel bad for me. Like it's crazy that up until the moment he died, nobody had a clue. I mean, you said like he was looking sick or whatever, but that comparatively to like when he was looking better, which was also him sick. Like,
he's a real life superhero, man. He really is. I mean, the fact that like imagine telling a kid with cancer you're gonna be okay, and sympathizing and empathizing with a kid that may not be long for this world, and you know exactly what they're going through because neither are you, and to keep that burden and carry it along with them for years and years and years.
But guess what?
Being a role model at the same time is just unbelievable.
But now when they're kids in the cancer ward, they're going to be able to look at Black Panther and be like, I can look like that. Like, I can look like that and have cancer.
Yes.
Oh, we got a donation coming in. Hold on.
The French Tanner donated $5.
Oh, thanks.
Cheers. Love the show.
The video bot.
Oh, thank you so much, French Tanner. Says, cheers, loves the show tonight. Thank you, guys. I keep forgetting to plug the stream.
Cheers.
I think I forgot to tweet it out. It's a real cycle up in my brain right now. But think about all of this. Like, not only did he inspire like so many generations of Black children who now have something to aspire to like look to in the superhero community, but like specifically like people with cancer, people like children with cancer, children like Black children with cancer. Like people that are not only underserved in one way but underserved in like several, and to be able to look and be like Chadwick Boseman was Black Panther while doing all that, like, well,
yeah, like I saw a beautiful art piece today of a painting of Chadwick like saluting with a little boy who had cancer wearing a Black Panther mask. Like it was like such a beautiful and happy yet heartbreaking image all at once.
Yeah.
So to see like that he only did a few movies, a handful of movies, and for his death to impact people so much just shows how much he was able to give in that short time.
Right. And again, like, I had never seen a movie that he started. I saw it like Infinity War. I saw Endgame. I saw his thing in Civil War. I like felt so different hearing about it and the way it happened. Like it just kind of like the thing. It just felt like something big and important had happened and was happening.
Even in Infinity War, like it hits different when the finale takes place in Wakanda, because I watched it with the commentary and the Russos were talking about how they hadn't seen Black Panther yet because it was still being, they had like just finished filming it.
Oh, them too.
So, yeah. And so like the big, huge like battle scene in Wakanda when all of, Black Panther and the whole tribe show up to fight in this big battle, they start doing the war chants. The Russos did not tell them to do that. Like Chadwick just started it and they just all started doing it, and they just like this is incredible because they hadn't seen Black Panther, so they didn't know about these like war chants. So when they showed up doing these chants being led by Chadwick, like the Russos were like, this is awesome.
Wait,
so And watching that scene, like, I think it just makes it even more incredible,
Yes.
Yeah.
I just had a real quick thought, not to take anything off of Chadwick for the moment. Winston Duke in that movie in Black Panther. Oh my god! Like, get it, Winston. Like, everyone in the movie can get it, but like especially Winston Duke can get it. And like the part where he's like, "I'll feed you to my children," and then he's like, "Nah, we're vegetarians." And I'm just like,
I do have a design for you. I have a design for you. Someone had requested for me a design that said "First Lady of the Jabari," so I made like a Jabari mask with like eyelashes, and it says "First Lady of the Jabari tribe" on it.
Oh my god! he's got one other like great freaking beat line in there that's like it was just such a drop, and like I have to think that like him and Googler and Jordan Peele must be like more than just aware of each other in each other's space, being, because Daniel Kaluuya had been in Get Out, was in Black Panther. Winston Duke went from Black Panther to Us. Like this is a very small community of up and coming emerging talent.
And him and Lupita went to school together, so for them to like get both of these roles movies together that were huge, like was kind of a big deal for them. Yeah.
How like Black Panther was so fucking cool. I have to like geek out about this thing that everyone else has known about for a very long time. Like I'm just finding out about Wakanda today. I'm like, what?
Like I'm jealous that you like got to discover it again.
Martin Freeman. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say another interesting thing about especially Infinity War was when the characters started to get dusted. Spoilers for Infinity War. And when it started to happen to Black Panther, he got one of the largest of anyone.
That's very.
Gotta say, Spidey really was the gut punch there too. That little kid.
Well, yeah, but Black, and I think the country had fallen in love with him so fast, so quick that remember Black Panther was just a couple of months before.
Yeah,
it came out in February. Infinity War came out in April.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the MCU, the chronological MCU is not equivalent to the release of the MCU movies, and so like it's always going to be a big like question mark for me. Like, does Black Panther take place before?
It takes place after Civil War. So like,
Bucky's there.
Yes. So at the end of Civil War, I think the end credit scene of that is them taking him to Wakanda.
Yeah,
and they're putting him back in cryo sleep to like erase all the mind washing stuff and help him get back to.
That's why at the end of Black Panther we see Bucky.
So at the end of Black Panther, I feel like I watched an end scene and I didn't see him.
Yeah, I don't think you do.
That's the last end credit scene.
Yeah, end credits at the very end of the credits. Yes.
What are you guys doing?
The post credit scenes.
Yeah, so there's usually after the main titles, the UN part, and then after all the main credits, you see the White Wolf.
Can I be honest? This is a little VideoDrew for my taste. Like this is a little like stop biting off my sleeves. It's a little Schmoedown. Like what are you doing? That's my thing. Like doing a post credit sequence. Like who's that for? I guess everyone in America except for me, who stupidly left the movie running out.
No, there's a lot of people, Drew, that leave, and I never understood it. And it's like I always see those movies opening day, and I'm like, where are you people going? This is
the MCU, right? Iron Man, you got a scene. Like, what?
It's not just for the Easter eggs. It's literally. I used to talk to this Pratik Patel, who is I think he still is. It was like a vice president over at Sony. He used to work for M. Night Shyamalan. He was like the PA on The Sixth Sense, but he ended up being the VP of Sony and being one of the people who really promoted the superhero stuff internationally. And when we went out once, he was like, well, it's really what happened was India got a bunch of theaters and people started being able to pay for like going to the theaters once a week in India. And we needed movies that were accessible, that like you could watch like as an Indian person not knowing anything about our culture and like understand the stakes. So like the Marvel movies, like the rise of the superhero genre as we knew it was like the idea of making these movies internationally accessible, and another thing that he told me was that the post-credit sequences are because there are hundreds, almost like up to 1,000 probably around people who work on these movies and whose names deserve to be seen and not just like walked out on. So like they kind of force you to be like, yeah, there was 500 animators for this.
So you need to stick around and acknowledge them. Yeah,
right. 500 Wakanda animators. Then we got to the Space Jam or whatever. Space Cadet. What's their thing called? What's the Avengers in space with the guy from Parks and Rec? Guardians. So there's the Guardians things,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's how VideoDrew's minds work.
Yeah, I got there. Space Jam,
Avengers in
Parks
space, yeah.
and Rec, Guardians got there. Yeah.
Well, they did. Avengers did go to space, so you're not wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
you're
there's different animators for those scenes that are like Wakanda and CGI people, and then there's like the animators who do like the stuff over in, I know one planet's named Nowhere, so I'm just gonna say Nowhere. Right? One planet is named Nowhere. Yeah,
Yes, that is
true.
correct.
That's where the Collector lives. I know that. See, guys, I know things. We got terribly off topic.
Well, it's okay, but I do also wanted to bring up his appearance on Saturday Night Live.
That was amazing.
that was so good.
Which is
Black
like,
Jeopardy sketch. Karen, it's
Yeah.
so
Karen's
fucking
potato
annoying.
salad.
Yes.
Karen, what does he say? Like, get your whack ass potato salad.
Yes.
I was watching that sketch yesterday and being like, this is a little cringe. Like, also, I think up until probably 8 p.m. yesterday, I still thought that was his accent, like IRL, or he had a British accent. The fact that I then watched some speech and I was like, oh no, he sounds like really more like American than I do. Like I sound more foreign than he does. Like that's crazy. Like it just yeah, like I don't know how else to describe it. Like he talks in a way that's very, very casual when he's giving speeches. He doesn't try to like, he wasn't
like Will Smith in Concussion.
Yeah, he doesn't do the
African
he's not trying to be like eloquent or like whatever the dog whistle coded phrases are. Like he's just talking like a normal person would talk.
Yeah, it's very natural.
And it's crazy then because I was watching the sketch and I was like, this is a very cringe sketch. I was like kind of like haha, like I love him, so he's great. But then they get to that Karen drop. What does it say? Oh hell no, Karen, keep your bread.
That's potato salad to yourself.
No paprika. No paprika.
And raisins.
No paprika.
Tiny bit of
oh hell no, Karen, keep your bland ass potato salad to yourself. Guys, yeah, James Bond was what I was going to say next. Is this movie also worked effectively as the first James Bondy like thing that I've seen that I've liked outside of Casino Royale? Now there's a very specific beat where they're like, imagine the brother from Langley, but this time it's like Martin Freeman. Well, I'm pretty sure they only cast so they could have a scene where him and Andy Serkis appear like normal size each other. Everything else is scaled down by 1/3.
Well, he was in Civil War too, so he was cast
with Martin Freeman.
But you're right. You're right.
He was introduced in Civil War. Yeah.
I think
which I like to find talking about how he inherited Chadwick because the Russos cast him, and the fact that he didn't cast Chadwick, and then the fact that he they were able to form such a great bond and collaborate so well.
Yeah. Funny thing also about that, he was conflicted about doing the movie. He wasn't sure if he wanted to do it. It's not until he saw Chadwick while they were editing Civil War, his scenes with his father and Black Widow, and he decided, you know what, I could work with this guy. I'm in. So
And was Chadwick in? Do we know at this point if Chadwick knew? Like, I hate to keep
they just say he was diagnosed in 2016. That's the year Civil War came out. So I don't know if it was before he did it or after he did it. But
it may have been after. It may have been after.
Because he already would have made the movie at that point. So, but he found out that year. So he probably made the movie thinking everything was fine, and then he found out and did Black Panther. He knew for sure when he did Black Panther.
Because he's in great shape for Civil War, but he is in. They have two scenes where he is literally hand-to-hand combating, which, by the way, is a very silly way to decide who gets to be king in a society that's light years advanced beyond ours. But we'll put that aside for a second. But you have two scenes where he's just shirtless and grappling, and like that's him looking like the healthiest, the buffest, the best. That's what he was doing while getting surgeries and doing all that stuff
and chemo and things. Yeah, I was watching like that funny like Jimmy Fallon thing where like people are talking to a picture of the Black Panther poster of him, and they're like saying what Black Panther means to them, and then he comes out and surprises them. And one guy was like, those scenes when you had your shirt off. I'm glad you didn't have your shirt off the whole movie because my girlfriend was getting really excited. And like joking about how physically great he looked, and his girlfriend was.
Oh my God.
He's like, I'm glad you put your shirt on because my girlfriend was getting really into it. And then Chadwick comes out. He's like, yeah, I'm glad you have your shirt on now too.
Oh my God.
She would be asking me to get your number. Like,
yeah. So I have to say, on Friday we did the video karaoke thing, which was really fun, and we did a celebration of Chadwick. And so one guy came on who had never been on the stream before, and he goes, "Well, do you mind if I sing like a sexy song in honor of Chadwick?" And I was like, "Yes, actually, that's the best take of it. Like he was a sexy, a huge sexy piece of man, and yeah, like that doesn't take away or diminish any of his sexiness. Know that he was and anything, it makes him like that's a fucking superhero, man. Like Wakanda.
He had so much swag. Like I remember the scene when he's first walking up to his mom.
Yeah,
he just has so much swagger when he's walking. I'm just like, I was a little special.
It's that same thing. It's that thing he does in 42 where he's got these little movements.
Yes,
he's got these little movements, and I have to think, had he continued, like, it is very funny that he also was into like hip opera, and he wanted to basically be Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like that's what he went to Oxford for, and like I found like all these old this one like old this is welcomes Chadwick Boseman as a first-time director to it wasn't the public, but it was like some off Broadway thing. This is his first production, like, and it's just I gotta imagine maybe in another reality he doesn't get cancer, but he goes in a different direction. He's a director of Broadway, or he becomes like Egyptian hieroglyphics expert, like he went to school for, which is again is fucking nuts because what an esoteric thing to decide to put your major on, Egyptian, or like maybe I have to double check this and it wasn't just a class, but like it seems like he was really focused on hieroglyphs, which is very cool to me. Yeah. Like what an archaic, never going to be applicable to modern day, are you Indiana Jones in real life thing to study.
Well, true. It's funny that you brought up the hand-to-hand combat thing. One of the things Ryan was talking about when they were making Black Panther was that they also wanted to embrace the African culture and the African heritage of the things that spoke specifically to African culture. So they didn't want to speak too much to the technology side of things. They also wanted to embrace the clothes and the language and the tradition. So that is kind of why they stuck to the hand-to-hand combat, because you're right, in a society like Wakanda, they wouldn't have dealt with things in that way, but it goes back to their Wakandan tradition of doing things. That's why it kind of went that way.
Mm-hmm. Look, and that's even
I was going to say, even Chadwick's decision to have them dance in going into that whole kind of battle. Yeah. Like,
that's beautiful.
They were all just going to like stand there like holding spears. But the fact that he was like, no, they should be dancing. They should be celebrating, him becoming the king and all of that. Just another great contribution of his like ideas to that movie.
So, yeah. And I do want to say, again, as a Jew, the idea of tradition, which is their first song in Fiddler on the Roof, like I get it. Like that's the whole thing about Judaism is like, you don't necessarily feel a tie to the religion so much as you feel a tie to the culture and traditions that are being passed down, because we're the ones to remember. And it's like all these things about Passover that are weird, that we all sit around like an Ari Aster movie and just dip our finger into wine and go, locust, boils, darkness, death of the firstborn. And like, we just do that for a bit. And then we're not allowed to eat because, our ancestors weren't. And we all know how to do this, and we all know how to speak in Hebrew. Like, and but it's like this thing we don't really incorporate into like our day-to-day lifestyle. We just all know that secretly we do this on the holidays. Yeah. So like the idea of the tradition stuff didn't strike me as like a thing that I considered while watching the movie, but like I just also watched an American People last night, so like I do get that there are these beats that aren't for me to show yet.
Yeah, like, and if you notice, like, Nakia, Okoye, and T'Challa are all representing different colors of the African flag. Nakia always wears green, Okoye always wears red, and he always wears black.
Like, yeah, no, there's no way I would have gotten that. No way. I heard the thing about like Winston Duke's tribe was supposed to, was the ape like the ape thing or like what they changed it to
Manape.
What?
This character is called Manape.
No, Mene. But like it was something about like the are they wolves? Like their symbol is a something, but like they were originally had it as gorillas, and he was like, no, I don't think that's right, or I don't want to make those noises or something like that. And it's like the amount of decision that they all got to have in the process of making this film, so that nobody felt like their voice wasn't heard or that they, couldn't speak up for fear of like, oh, Disney's going to crack down on like me, and I'm not going to get a freaking line in the third Star Wars movie, kind of thing. Like.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back to something that Denzel, I heard him say when he was interviewed when he was doing Fences. It's more of a cultural thing. So you could put someone else besides Ryan Coogler to direct it that isn't black, and maybe the movie comes out good, but it wouldn't be the same kind of movie because you have to get someone who understands the culture. And if you don't understand the culture, there's going to be certain things that you don't understand and you wouldn't relate to and would just go right over your head. So it's like Steven Spielberg did oh Jesus. Well, yeah, but I was gonna say like Schindler's List because he's Jewish. So there's certain things that he would understand. There's Martin Scorsese did like all those like Italian gangster movies because it's a cultural thing and it's
also Casinos.
Yeah, but the idea that like. Okay, G, I'm sorry. Okay.
Oh, I don't see them putting that, I want to put me in the water because I want to be like the slaves who jumped from the ships that didn't want to die in bondage. I doubt that line would be in that movie if it was by a white person.
Yeah, and also I don't think it goes to the point of like, would the main character feel like it's a collaborative enough of a set that you could say, I don't think this other guy's character would respond like that, and that would be incorporated. Like in something that's as sort of high value as these Marvel movies, as these Disney movies, as these franchise movies are, how much like room are you being allowed individually? We know about Rian Johnson and Star Wars and sort of the trap of having to be part of this. And it seems like for their giving MCU and Disney and give the credit where it's due, they really let that movie be the shining beacon that really does. If you can watch it as a standalone and you're missing nothing. Like it works, like kind of like Wakanda. It works totally fine by itself. It doesn't need the rest of them. The rest of the movies need it. If that makes sense. Like,
no, it makes perfect sense, and I think that speaks to a great producer like. Oh my God, I'm so distracted today.
A great producer like a Sean.
No, not me. But he's like Kevin Feige is a great producer because he saw Ryan Coogler and he saw like. Creed and just saw what kind of a great filmmaker he was, and then just kind of gave him free reign to kind of tell the story that he wanted to do because he has always said that like it doesn't matter if you've done a big movie before, a good storyteller is a good storyteller. So the idea that he just kind of took Ryan from doing a small movie like Creed to do like a big blockbuster like Black Panther, and for him to succeed and him giving the reins to I mean small in scale in terms of like not a lot of special effects, action,
more set in reality,
Yes.
Okay, I just was making sure we're talking about the same one that's like the Rocky franchise one, right? With Michael.
Yes.
Also, cannot watch those movies because I don't like people fighting. So
they're so good. They're so good. I'm gonna tell Alex. I'm telling Alex to make you watch those.
I definitely watched Warrior because of Alex, and it's one of my favorites. So I do like watching people.
You will like Creed. You will like Creed. I think.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I want to say though. There seemed to be like, I'm not sure if I'm crazy, and we do want to we don't want to keep everyone on forever. Thank you guys all for staying with us. It did seem like there was like a couple beats in there that were specifically for Michael B. Jordan though. Like I noticed the kid that was outside that you're saying was playing basketball. He looked just like Wallace, like Michael Jordan as Wallace in The Wire. Like they made him look. They found an actor that looked literally just like him, and like dressed him I think like in the same clothing that Wallace was wearing, like in the first season. It was. I know it was Oakland and not Baltimore, but like Michael B. Jordan is somebody. Who I've been watching for like a while now, like watching him kind of age into these different roles, and and a lot of them I haven't seen, quite honestly.
He was
But
really good in Parenthood too for a while. But I remember he was in the show Parenthood for a while, which that was my first introduction to him. But I spoke to him right after he spoke. He shot this film.
Oh, you told me about this. Yeah, tell the
as producers tend to do. So we were chatting, and he was really sad that he had such a great time in the Marvel kind of machine, and talking to Feige and talking to Ryan Coogler, that he was sad that he was only going to be like a one and done. And this was before the movie came out, so he kind of has spoiled that he was going to die, even though he's playing a villain. So it was kind of very obvious that he was, and he was trained to Creed.
Did he died?
Well, here's a question. And if this places the council, if this places the high court, if this places all you, I know it's like very soon, but while watching the movie, I couldn't help but think like, well, it should be Lupita Nyong'o. Like they should just make her the Black Panther, and like it would make sense.
Sure, yeah. She became her in the comics.
She did. Mm-hmm. I just feel like her character is not about the fight. Like Tony Stark, it's not like you can be smart and a fighter and a woman and also fight. But I feel like her nature is not that of a fighter.
Oh yeah, they never really established her. She just had her gauntlets and was just like pew 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 pew.
Yeah.
So they never showed her
in the chair versus
like
versus
Lupita,
the guy in the chair.
So she didn't do a lot of physical fighting, no. But just if you're going for comics kind of storylines, she does ultimately become the Black Panther at a certain point.
So would you rather see her instead of like Lupita, who I feel like narratively in terms of the movie, like would make sense? You could just say they got married or whatever. She took up the mantle. She also had her diplomatic relations were what he ended up going towards. So she has the right mindset. Or would you think it would be somebody like maybe they find a way to bring back Michael B. Jordan? I know that sounds insane, but that was my first thought, was like they could have added a couple more sympathy beats and then made his death a retcon or
I have
do
a theory.
something. You do?
Yeah, I mean, I think they will bring Michael B. Jordan back. He'll be in the plane because now, if you think about it, he was king. So when they go back there, he could be there. I think the best thing Marvel has in this situation is time. So that they don't necessarily have to make this decision now.
Right now. Mm-mm.
So whether it be recasting, which is not the most popular thing, but it is on the table. Whether it's giving Shuri, well, I don't want them to, but it's on the table. It can't be not on the table.
Yes, you can.
Writing his character out is obviously an option. But they don't have to decide now. This movie wasn't supposed to come out until 2022 now, so they have plenty of time.
But Ryan's, as the writer and creator and director, like he wrote it specifically with Chadwick's voice in mind, and like, so yes, the studio doesn't have to decide, but he, as the creator, has to decide where he feels the story is most right to go.
He probably will have to.
You have to address the fact that the character died, and like in comic books, when a character dies, like their symbol is bigger than just the one human. So like, Robin is like, a bunch of different kids over the course of time that are all severely traumatized or dead by the time we get to the Frank Miller Batman. So like, it's a mantle, and I feel like someone picks up the Black Panther mantle just like his dad was Black Panther before he was. That would make. To recast it would be literally, utterly, I think, like...
It would be hard.
It would be kind of disrespectful, I think. Like, to recast someone and say that is T'Challa. Like...
That would be...
No.
That's fair.
I don't think anyone wants that.
No, it would be like being a rhino in, like, armor and telling that rhino to go hurt somebody. And you're like, no, that's the rhino from before. I don't want it to do that.
I mean, I'll put it this way. I wouldn't want to be in Kevin Feige and Ryan Coogler's shoes right now, having to make that decision somewhere down the road. Because it doesn't affect just Black Panther 2. It affects a lot of things going forward. Because Chadwick Boseman this wasn't gonna be his last appearance, so it affects other things besides just this one movie. That they had already, like, when they had announced it, they had already had a first draft, so they were well along in the process of writing this movie months ago. So now that they have to kind of...
Killmonger couldn't have come back with a snap because Killmonger was killed. Like, he didn't get snapped. But you could find some ways. It's a comic book movie. You can figure out.
He could come back. He could be in the Afro. He was one of the former kings. Yeah, it's a comic book movie. They could do anything they want and figure out a way to justify it. So, and because how big of a star as Michael B. Jordan is, if he wants to come back and Ryan wants him back, the studio is not going to say, "Well, no, he kind of died." No, they'll find a way.
Figure something out.
But like, I don't think like Winston Duke, Daniel Kaluuya. I think like pick somebody who already existed in this world, and just like deal with it the way you deal with it on like a TV show, which is like acknowledge that or a good TV shows, which is acknowledge that the death has happened within the world, and don't try to hide it, and let the grief become part of the like rebirth process or like the recreation
part
process.
Of the universe.
Acknowledge it and honor their memory. Like, don't just pretend like it didn't happen. Like, it clearly happened. Like,
it's not an easy decision, one way or the other. It's not.
Yeah. Okay. Guys, I hope this episode has been cathartic and fun to watch. It's been kind of cathartic to talk about. I cried less than I thought I would. Mainly because I'm still distracted by Harrison Ford's accent. 42. I have to go back and like listen and find a perfect analogy.
Good to know that you like accents, mistress.
Well, look at that guy. Look at that person.
Yeah,
a real life person, and see if he talked like that, and maybe that was behind the choice.
But like, who would even cast Harrison Ford? Whatever. Putting it aside, Drew. Putting it aside, you don't know anything about Jackie Robinson's life or who managed the fucking Brooklyn Dodgers back then. Was the Yankees? Probably. Not good at baseball. Not good at sports. Guys, jeez.
Another time.
Guys, if you like this programming, and like, why wouldn't you? Like, we are all stages of death process. Please join my not a cult patreon.com/VideoDrew. Like me phrase, not a death cult. Where you can be part of the tiers. You can come on some of the shows we have. We have a lot of programming. We also have a live after show that we do afterwards. That, of course, Jeannine, you are more than welcome to come to. I'll send you the Zoom link. We'll be doing that right after the show. Like, lights on. This is a little bit less kayfabe than normal because we're all just this. But it's sort of like the out of character stuff. And can I just say thank you, like, Jeannine? Like, it's just one of those many weird cosmic coincidences that we had booked you well before
all this. Yeah. No, but, thank you for having me, and I could share my thoughts and feelings about this because it's been really hard, dealing with this news.
My first thought when it happened was I thought everyone was joking, but I had just put up the image that you were going to be on this week, like on Instagram and stuff, and I was like,
people are going to think she only asked her because.
No, I know. My first thought was, oh, thank God we already booked her, because otherwise I would have to bump whoever I had booked to have you on. Yeah. Just because, like, I don't want to talk about this with, like, that many people.
Yeah. And, I appreciate it.
Yeah, you and I have, like, a very special Schmoedown sort of relationship that I've, always been trying to be aware of.
And since we are breaking kayfabe, and that's probably an excuse for Sean to fire me down the road, I just want to say that we talked a lot about heroes, representation, and people that mean something for us. And I can't get this goal without saying that, Jeannine, you are a hero for me.
Oh.
You really are. I wish that, because that is the second time that we are on screen, and in a very tough situation.
Yes.
I hope next time is a little more, you can just hang out. But I've been watching you since 4 years now, man, and being able to be here, having fun again, it's an honor. Thank you very much to be here.
I mean, you were more you warranted more thought than I'd put into any Schmoedown related thing. I was more obsessed with the idea of what we would be doing and like what our characters would be doing than I realized that I had like bought a plane ticket or was going to do movie trivia. Like no plan on that, no plan, but like definitely a plan about how to how robots should talk to each other and like what our characters were going to be doing and how important it was for two female competitors who are meeting on the first time on the field. Have like have the
how we're going to relate.
To make the narrative themselves and like honestly, I feel like that's what we have.
I feel like I don't know what kayfabe they're talking about. I don't know what that is. But the idea, Jeannine, I think what's also important just to say that you're a trailblazer in this Schmoedown, and the league is better off with you in it. And I apologize for all the things that you specifically have to go through in terms of like the negative backlash that you get just for being you. So always know that your appearance is very, very important. And regardless of your gameplay, the Schmoedown needs people like you that embrace what the league truly represents, like character work, having fun, being competitive. Seeing you in the league, like seeing someone that looks like us in the league is important, and I don't think you get enough credit for setting that trail, as well as like other women in the league have as well. I think you deserve a lot of credit as well as like Jay and Winston do. So I just think that I apologize for like as a guy knowing that there's things that you and VideoDrew and the other women in the league have to deal with, and it's unfortunate. But always remember that they're the yeah, but
technically a woman.
The vocal minority.
People don't think
majority of us. Well, that's neither here nor there. But the majority of the fans in the league do love you, Jeannine. We respect you, and we care about you, and we want to see you succeed.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. That's what keeps me going even after a loss and, a hard road. Like, that's what keeps me coming back. So that means a lot to me. Thank you.
Like, you fucking like killed it. I mean, I know it sucks, and everything that happened in 2020 sucks, and then I'm off the trivia stuff. But you entered like inner geekdom as like what? Like the only. Were you the one of 2 or 3 women that were?
I think it was just me, Jen, and Emily. That's it.
Yeah, like you were. It's so important for you to have broken through that boundary. I've lost to one of to both Real Rejects this year. Like that was my opening this season. They're not like, people kind of overlook them, but they're not like an easy thing to beat. And like, look, you studied your ass off. You know things now that I will never know. Like you have knowledge that I will never know. Like probably some something about Tolkien.
Yeah, I had 3 weeks to like learn things that I never had in my brain ever. So, I was really proud of that. So,
and please do not kill us when the robots take over.
Yeah. Well, I always thought me and Jeannine would be.
You guys will be safe.
Robot. She's not a real robot. She's not a real robot.
And Jeannine, I think that there's a lot of team ups or a lot of matches I would absolutely put my money on you 100% of 100% of the time against Mount Rushmore status people. And it is unfair and it is suck. But I think that if I went against you on a one-on-one, I'd be terrified. And like, we do have a match. And it's a Patreon match, which it was terrifying for me to enter because I had to take Andrew Guy's spot when he wussed out because he was scared to play Jeannine. In WoW comms. So like, a lot of times it becomes this thing, and not to diminish what Sean said, but like, this idea that like, because we are women or we represent something and because of the character work, we get to stay. Whereas like, if we were just being judged completely on our
trivia knowledge
we'd be kicked out, but we get this special status because we're like women or we're treated differently. And like, no, like you're terrifying opponent to go up against. Me and Tom just didn't expect to make it past you, so I didn't have a bit plan for the next match. Like they're just like, no, I was like, I'm flying into down for this one thing, and then I'm leaving. And it turns out I'm staying close to Glover's house. Like it was a whole thing. But it was terrifying, and you knew Ethan's 3-corner, and you know what shit. But I don't need to say that, and I'm just wanted to say thank you for coming on, and for always coming on, and for always like being here.
Thank you for having me. And I'm sorry I wasn't in the dark, but I was afraid you probably wouldn't be able to see me. So
that's fair.
Where can we find you, Jeannine, when you're not like hanging out over here, being a queen?
You can find me at Jeannine the on Twitter and Instagram, and check out my podcast feed, the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. I have 3 shows over there. There's Machine Mondays every Monday where I talk about Schmoedown stuff. There's Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday where me and my co-host, I force him to watch movies he's never seen before. So I pick like a related franchise of films or a series of he's missed. So right now we are doing Twilight. We are doing the Twilight movies right now. So that'll be interesting.
Is it always things that Morgan hasn't seen? So it's like something with him related?
Yeah, okay, so last month, in August, since it was my birthday month, we got to switch it around. So it was Jeannine Hasn't Seen. So he got to choose things for me to watch. But normally he picked The Haunted Palace with Vincent Price. He picked The Mummy.
Oh, God, I think he meant The Haunted Palace.
The old Mummy. He picked, what was that? This weird gangster movie with Scott Baio, like a bunch of little kids. Like,
wait. The one that made The Outsider? It's a Rumblefish. Is that the one?
No, it's like a gangster musical with little kids, like
Bugsy Malone.
Bugsy Malone. Yes.
Ding ding ding. Yes. Yep. That one's great. I didn't know that was Scott Baio.
Yeah, Scott Baio. And Jodie Foster's little kids.
Yeah. For some reason, that's a musical that exists. It's the story of Bugsy, but like as told by very small children dressed as adults. It's real weird.
Yes. So that's every Wednesday. We have Morgan Hasn't Seen. And then on Fridays, we have It's a Wonderful Podcast where we talk about classic old films. So look for the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed, all places podcasts are found.
How much were you going like, like that during last week's match? Were you just like,
Yeah.
I know, you team action all the way, but like, never gonna be president now. Okay, that's my little Hamilton bit for the night. Sean, where can we find you besides this beautiful podcast that we do?
You can find me behind the scenes producing a lot of stuff, but I really don't want to plug anything because producers kind of stay more behind the scenes controlling things. But I will say before I leave, next week, Danny.
Bye, I don't want to hear you. So you can find me living the rooftop of my mistress at VideoDrew, sometimes doing stuff for Let's Get Ready to Talk Schmoedown, or doing things for Gucciverse because Gucci is the best manager and Kaiser is a buffoon.
Now to wrap it up, back to me, VideoDrew. I'm the star. It's my show. I do whatever I want. It's like a dream world, and I'm the queen. I have a match coming up, apparently I have a match coming up. It's on Thursday. Like, I had no idea because time has lost any real significance. Yeah. But I will be playing Mark Yoda Riley, best of the Muppet, Star Wars Muppets, champion of like the prequel, division ones where he won a hat or a belt or a goldfish or something. Real champion in the league. So somebody who I'm very much looking forward to playing and seeing his syntactical grammar errors and like making fun of them in a light but loving way, because VideoDrew's got some feelings about this season and how everyone's been acting, and I'm really excited to bring that out and have you guys see. Otherwise, you can find me here on my YouTube channel. It's mine. I own it. It's Mondays and Thursdays we do VideoChronic pop culture quizzes. That's with NerdChronic, the editor of the Schmoedown. Come on, even if you don't like me, you have to like that. Him.
Oh, NerdChronic. Now I get it.
Come on, let me get through these. It's like you bring a rhythm. Okay, so Tuesdays we're doing this one's special. We're doing I do cinema bias with Alex Mack. We have Marisol McKee coming on to teach me about Karate Kid because I have never seen it.
You're the best.
Yeah. Wednesday's my bingo free space day, so I usually do a Amazon Prime movie watch along, or we do Schmoedown training. I've gotten to know a lot of cool people through that. It's awesome thing to do. Not creep. Why do I keep thinking you don't say it's a cult? Because I can't. It's not a cult. It's just my Patreon, and you just go to it, and it's fine.
Not a cult.
It's not a cult. Fridays we do video karaoke, which is honestly, Jeannine, we've missed you.
I know. I tried to come on last week, and then I was told that the room was full, so I just left.
That's how you I love the way that I love the Schmoedown community of a group of weirdos that I'm like, oh, this is the only group in history I could ever see myself being a part of. The Twitch Sings community is also.
Thank you, Eric.
happy belated birthday. That was so good. Warfather's up in his house.
Yeah.
And I want to be a happy pre-birthday to our crow here.
He has a birthday?
The video crow has a birthday that's coming up on a certain day of the week, but days meaningless, but it will happen after.
Is he in bird years or human years?
It's after the video drew is wind cycle. It's the next day after that. So video drew is winning cycle of Schmoedown, and then it comes to Danny's birthday process.
And that's a better riddle than the Riddler.
Yeah, I mean, because it means something backwards and forwards, and like you won't be able to tell me not to get that tattoo, Mom. So guys, and then Sunday in the dark with Video Drew. That's the show. You're here, right here, live in the dark. Yeah, that's right. I'm working on a specific name right now that you might recognize as being someone who's doing some real good character work. So we'll see if that pans out. So this birthday coming up, I will see myself out. Malcolm, you do so. But you know what else? We will see ourselves out. So again, guys, if you're part of Patreon, come join us in the Zoom after chat. We'll be hanging out for a little bit. Otherwise, do the thing where you say goodnight, Gracie. You all say goodnight, Gracie. Oh, whatever.